Roses is finally out. This was one of those movies that I was very intrigued with, really because of the two stars, Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. Now, I have said in other videos before that I am a big Olivia Colman fan, and this movie did not disappoint. With The Roses, you have a broken marriage led by pure chaos, and that is the easiest way to describe what you see on screen. Now, what made this movie so intriguing from the trailers is that you had an opportunity to see a marriage that seems to be falling apart, but you had some funny moments. But what I was really impressed with was the fact that with this movie, the comedy did not stop with what you saw in the trailers. Now, with this movie, you have a couple, Theo and Ivy, who really meet in a unique way and ultimately have this wonderful success together. But then when a circumstance takes place, one of them is now put in a predicament of what the future has in store. And with that, you start to see the rise of a restaurant empire, but also a crumbling architect trying to find his way, not just in the world again, but also a way into his marriage. Now, when you sit down to watch this movie, I think the perfect thing for this film is that it fits a lot of current issues, I would say, that you see in marriages. You have a lot of ups, you have a lot of downs, but it turns into how are you actually going to fight through that and fight for each other in order to build something you both want. Now, this film is really geared towards married or engaged, even dating couples that are looking for a date night film. But what really stands out when you sit down to watch this is really how funny it is from start to finish. It's almost as if you are seeing on screen a lot of serious moments, but then all of a sudden you are hit with comedy and you're laughing. Now, I was the youngest one in our theater, but it was one of those movies that as much as I was excited to see it, it did not disappoint. And for me, I will go on record with saying that I have made the comment that if this movie was as bad as it could have been, not that I hoped it would be, but it could have been, just by somebody saying all the funny parts are in the trailer, I was going to take a break from going to movies. But The Roses lived up to every expectation that I wanted from this film. When you start looking at the pros, I think the comedy is the biggest aspect in this film. When you have Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman together, it was just pure joy and comedy. Now, the situations taking place on the screen were not full of joy, but it was one of those things where their chemistry just bounced off each other and made the movie fun. I also really enjoy the fact that as you sit and watch this movie, you don't just focus on the comedy that is being shown on the screen. You also have a storyline that is a consistent flowing storyline. You don't feel lost. And I think in a film like this, by having a movie go part by part and base it off of both past events and ultimately where the future goes, makes it easy to follow. And that is a big thing that I think The Roses does very well. And finally, I think I would be remiss if I did not point out the secondary characters within this movie had a big role. Whether it's Andy Samberg or Kate McKinnon, both SNL people, they both had a role that stood out. And they had a purpose that in some movies in 2025, you don't see. A lot of the secondary characters find themselves kind of lost. they're thrown in there and you're kind of hoping you can understand what they are meant to be. But what I will say is they did an excellent job playing the roles given to them. Now, a con. I think the one thing that kind of takes away a little bit, I would say, but not terribly, is just the fact that when you look at Ivy and her kid, you're kind of looking at both of the kids knowing they have a purpose, but then they kind of get lost in the shuffle. And so what you really noticed when you watch this is that the focus is on Theo and Ivy. It's not on the kids. It's more about how is their marriage going to go. So the other thing that's interesting about this is you have two British actors and actresses that have full American kids. So that was a little weird, but overall it made sense at the end. Now, rating for the Roses. For me, the Roses is a 4.4 out of 5. I think this movie was funny. The storyline was fun. I think it is one of those movies that the ending definitely brought chaos. I also think the dinner scene is one of my favorite scenes of 2025 because it was just pure comedy. You felt the tension, but you also had other surrounding characters and secondary characters taking on a role that made it even better. So for me, The Roses is a 4.4 out of 5. It is probably one of my favorite movies of the month of August, but we still got a couple more to see. So if you have a chance to see The Roses this weekend, I highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed. So thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you all later.